everyone, I'm HUSNATUL LATHIFAH and my student register number is 015. Let's join my video.
Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I'll be discussing common speech errors, also known as slips of the tongue, as well as error in speech comprehension, also known as slips of the ear. These errors in comprehension and production are completely normal, and we are all guilty of them at one point or another. In fact, if you never commit errors in production or comprehension of language, you are not human, and you should get that checked out. Let's start with speech errors or slips of the tongue. Although there are a number of speech errors, this video will focus on a few of the more common ones. First, let's start with anticipation. This is an error in which a later sound replaces an earlier sound in an utterance. So, for example, in basketball, a player can take a free throw, but this phrase is often mispronounced as three throw. So, in that example, three throw, you have the interdental fricative, replacing the labial dental fricative, v, in that utterance. So, in other words, your brain is already anticipating having to articulate the interdental fricative before the phrase is even uttered. Next is perseveration. This is a speech error in which an earlier sound replaces a later sound or in which the earlier sound simply sticks around, or perseveres, hence the term perseveration. So, the phrase black boxes could be mispronounced as black bloxes. Notice here that the old sound is hanging around awkwardly, like the weird guy at a party who stays way too long after all the other guests have left. Next is word exchange. This is an error in which one word switches positions with another word in an utterance. So, for example, instead of the phrase 50-pound bag of dog food, a speaker might actually say a 50-pound dog of bag food. Next is a blend. A blend is an error in which parts of two or more words are combined to yield a new word. So, for example, instead of either saying great or good, a speaker might say growth. So, they've taken the syllable onset gr from the word great and combined it with the syllable rhyme ud from the word good, yielding growth. I don't see what the problem is with that. It's a perfectly good. Next is metathesis. Metathesis is a speech error in which two sounds switch position with one another. So, for example, in the phrase milk and honey, this could be mispronounced as help and money. Notice here that the glottal fricative and the bilabial nasal have switched positions, much like a politician changing their stance on an issue. It's important to note that metathesis as a speech error is not to be confused with metathesis as a co-articulation effect, such as in the pronunciation of s, x. This is often a feature of some speakers' dialect of English. Next is a spoonerism. This is a kind of metathesis that involves sounds or sound clusters switching position with each other across words, and this result is memorable phrase such as the dear old queen becoming the queer old dean. Now, spoonerism were named after Reverend William Spooners, who taught at Oxford for years, and he was reported to have used this so-called spoonerism a lot, although it's actually unclear whether he did so, and if he did, whether they were actual speech errors or if they were intentional mispronunciation used for comedic effect. Lastly is a malapropism. A malapropism is a speech error in which the speaker uses an incorrect word that sounds similar to the target word. For example, after a boxing match, Mike Tyson was interviewed and asked what he would do next in his career, and he responded, "I don't know. I might just fade into Bolivian rather than I might just fade into oblivion." So, Bolivian and oblivion, they sound very similar. And in fact, there is actually a bit of metathesis going on there. But because they are different words and the incorrect word is used, that's why we are calling this a malapropism. So, this term malapropism comes from Mrs. Malaprop, who was a character in Richard Sheridan's play The Rivals, and this character was known for using this so-called malapropism to comedic effect, and just like with spoonerisms. These can actually be honest speech errors, or they could be mispronunciations that are used intentionally. It's important to recognize that although some speech errors may appear random, they are not random because they are governed by phonotactics or the systems of rules that determine what phonemes can go next to what other phonemes in a language in English. For example, we have the phrase black and white. So, we would not expect an English speaker to say something like black and white. Why? Well, that's because in English world, the sound sequence cannot form a syllable on onset in English. However, instead of the phrase black and white, a speaker could say white and black, not only because white and black both represent permissible syllables in English, but they are both actual words in English. So, why do these slips of the tongue happen at all? Well, there's a number of reasons. A speaker could be tired, they could be distracted, they could be multitasking, or, they could be feeling perfect, and they just make a simple mistake. Remember, these speech errors are totally normal, and we all do them at some point, but they do over a really unique window into the complex processes of speech production. Speech production. Now, let's discuss errors in comprehension or slips of the ear. We have all done this at some point or another. Often it happens in casual conversation where we just mishear somebody and we are misunderstood what they say because we have incorrectly parsed the words that they have used. But the more memorable example of slips of the ear happen with misinterpreting songs lyrics in music. So, for example, if you can think back on that famous Elton John song, Tiny Dancer, you could be forgiven. If you mistook the lyrics as Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza, an actor instead of Hold Me Closer, Tiny Dancer. Maybe you remember Jimi Hendrix's song, Purple Haze, and he says, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky." Well, a lot of people thought that he said, "Excuse me while I kissed the sky" when I was younger. And I would hear the Rolling Stones sing their song Beast of Burden. I was sure that Mick Jagger was actually singing "I'll Never Be Your Pink Suburban" rather than "I'll Never Be Your Beast of Burden." So, why do these slips of the ear happen? Well, just like with slips of the tongue, it could be a number of reasons. The listener could be tired, they could be distracted, or even if everything is fine, our brains often make mistakes and they try to resolve ambiguities or unclear parts of language by filling in the blanks itself based on context and lived experience. It's perfectly natural, and we all do this. So, as with slips of the tongue, slips of the ear offer a really unique window into the complex processes of speech comprehension. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for watching, and please feel free to comment below with an example of a slip of the tongue or slip of the ear that you have either heard or perhaps used in the past in the meantime. Stay safe, be well, and I'll see you soon. Take care.